Hello, today I'm going to be talking to bookkeepers about what it's like to work with larger clients. You guys enjoyed my video last month about how to work with tiny clients, so I thought you might like to hear, the advantages, disadvantages, things to think about with big clients. Starting off with number one, it's really obvious bigger clients are probably going to pay you more, so better fees for bigger clients. And this isn't necessarily the case, especially if you're a bookkeeper who charges by the hour. I have a video all about how to price your bookkeeping services. You can search on my channel, but I prefer to do a fixed rate price so that both my clients and I know, what to expect each month and how much that they're going to pay me. So usually with a bigger client, you're going to be working more hours, you're going to be doing more tasks that take more time, and so, your pay is going to be more. One other pricing method that some bookkeepers use is they charge a percentage of the total revenue of the client. So clearly in that case, it's obvious if the client is making more money, a bigger client, then you are able to charge them more. They can afford to hire you for more money. Number two is consistent work volume. So sometimes with smaller clients, they can have really big swings where there's maybe like no transactions and then they have like a really busy time. But with a large client, usually it's more predictable and consistent. So that really gives you the opportunity to plan your month and your week and know what to expect. And if you are just finding my channel, welcome. My name is Morgan. My website is FinePoints.biz. There's a lot of resources that walk you through becoming a bookkeeper on there. I have a lot of free stuff and then I have some paid classes. If you're looking to find some of those bigger, better clients, I do have a paid class all about bookkeeper marketing. I also have a free resource that is called How I Got My First 3 Clients. So that walks you through right from the beginning how I found my first bookkeeping clients when I was starting out. Number 3 is that bigger clients will likely have a more structured process. They probably already got their systems mostly figured out. They probably have lists or what do you call those things? Standard operating procedures, and they will train you how to get things done their way. And so this can have pros and cons. In some situations, it might feel like you are stuck in their process. And even if you see like a quicker or more efficient way or a way that you would prefer, you're not always able to change to your own, system. But on the good side, you're not reinventing the wheel. They probably have those processes there for a reason, they've thought them through. And so, it might be easier for you just to step in and overtake what they're already doing. Number 4, a large client is likely to have better tools. Just in the fact that they have more money to spend. It could be hardware, like they have better scanners, they have printers, they have a little thing that you can feed receipts through to get into QuickBooks. Or maybe they've invested some money into some good software, so they have a really good invoicing system that's really quick and easy and integrates with QuickBooks. Whereas sometimes a small business who doesn't have as much money to spend, they're kind of like duct taping things together or like using, free programs. Maybe they're using a Google Docs spreadsheet, when really there's a more sophisticated program that could get it done a little more efficiently. Number 5, you will have more help and more people, resources to talk to when you get stuck. This is my number one thing that was hard for me being a bookkeeper and working for myself. Because previously I had worked at a giant company. I worked for Target in Minnesota. And like I said, they have all their processes lined out like to a T. They have all this training material. I worked on a floor with tons of cubicles. If I had any questions, I could just go next door to my colleague. I could go across the way to my boss. There were like 10 or 12 people that were doing my same job. So there was a ton of collaboration and help if I didn't know how to do something. I also learned a ton from that environment because at Target, we were using Excel spreadsheets like all the time. So in that environment is when I got really good at Excel. I learned how to filter columns. I learned how to do a VLOOKUP. I learned like all these tips and tricks from my coworkers just because we were in a big environment and, we would sit around and share this knowledge. Number 6 is that you're exposed to a more diverse experience. So for this one, I'll use the example of I worked at a nonprofit with about 30 people as a bookkeeper. So I was able to learn a whole lot in that experience, not only about bookkeeping, but about different things. So I'm kind of interested in grant writing, for example, because my background is actually in writing. So I was able to talk to the grant writer and learn a little bit from her. I shared an office with the accountant, and so it was really nice to have her there as a resource as well. Just naturally, you're going to be surrounded by people with more diverse knowledge and you can learn from them. I will say the only caveat to this is sometimes in larger companies, you are more pigeonholed as a bookkeeper. So like I talked about in that tiny clients video, with a tiny client, I'm probably working just with the owner. And I might be their very first first employee or their very first contractor that works with them, or maybe they only have a couple employees. So in that case, I'm wearing more hats, I'm kind of advising them. Whereas contrasting it when you work for a larger company, there's probably people doing all of those specialized jobs. In a big company, they already have a hiring manager. They might have a few people that are looking at the financials. So sometimes as a bookkeeper, you might be more like a data entry person at a large firm. Moving on to number 7, you might have more professional development opportunities. So maybe there's a bunch of training that you're able to get as a large business. I know that larger nonprofit that I worked for sent me to a QuickBooks seminar. So they paid for me to go to this all day training and learn about QuickBooks. So that is a huge value and a bonus to you if someone else is paying for you to enhance your skills. And as you know, in QuickBooks, things are always changing. So you always have to continually update your knowledge about the industry. Number 8 is reputation and credibility. So with a bigger name, that might help you get other clients because your client is like, oh, you worked for Johnson & Smith, the biggest accounting firm in the city. You must know what you're doing. I'm definitely gonna hire you because that business has so much credibility. And I'm betting you're probably sitting here watching this thinking oh, it's really hard to get clients. How am I gonna work for the top accounting firm in my city, right? And I totally feel you. I definitely felt like that as well. I think the longer you stick with it, the more you're gonna find it easier and easier to get clients. So in many situations, work begets work. So at the beginning, I would take any job anyone would give me. People would give me a box of receipts. I'm like, sure, I'll organize it. I sometimes felt like a peon in these situations. Maybe you're working for that big accounting firm doing a tiny task that you feel is maybe a little too easy for you. But I do truly believe that if you hustle and if you make a plan and you wait it out year after year, your work is going to snowball. Your current clients are going to refer you to new clients. I did come out with a video this fall. It was why my bookkeeping business has been successful for 10 years. And you can see kind of step by step, at the beginning, it was really hard to get clients. And then I talk about the middle years, years 3 through 5 or something. And then as time went on, I got more sophisticated and confident. And then it was easy to get clients. So my encouragement to you is just try to stick with it. Even if it seems hard, it likely will not always feel so hard. And that leads me to number 9 is scalability. So large clients often have more potential for growth because if you grow 10% as a big business, that dollar amount is pretty high. So then hopefully you can leverage your relationship with this client and your services and kind of expand your services as they are growing. So for example, maybe they decide, oh, we need someone to present this financial information and this reporting to the board. And you're like, oh, that would be a good opportunity for me. And you can volunteer for that job. Or if they're rolling out a new way to charge their clients, maybe that's a specific software they need someone to learn and to get trained in. And you're like, oh, I can do that. And if you like the client and if you feel like they're compensating you well, I think working more for them is great. Leave me a comment if you can think of any other pros and cons for working for a large company. I'd love to hear from you guys. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you found part of it helpful. All right, I will talk to you again next week. Take care.